Valve timing on a Honda 600 sedan. Normally, Honda tells you to set the line on the camshaft, which is there, parallel to the top of the cam box, which is, you can see it's slightly rotated backwards. But the notch in the bearing right there is right about where it should be. But over here, if you go down and look at the mark on the pulley, that notch right there, it's not even up to the F mark, so it's definitely off by one tooth, and I can't get the adjustment on the ignition timing that I need, and it doesn't idle very well. So I'm going to rotate the camshaft back one tooth. The chain on this engine is super tight. But normally, to do this procedure, a lot of people would take off the cooling fan and remove the hydraulic tensioner. But all I'm going to do is, I've already loosened the valve adjustments, and I'm loosening the side bolts. You got to take out the bolt for the spark advancer. And then all I'm doing is taking off this bearing and this bearing, and then the cam will drop down, and then I can rotate the camshaft back so where it should be, so the timing will be in the right place. And then the problem with doing it this way is usually it's really hard to get the bearing back on when you're done. So the simple way to get the bearings loose is simply tap them with a hammer right about here. You can see it coming loose. And this one here, it's safe here. But you never want to hit one here, because it's very thin metal here. Just break on off, and you'll have to get another one. You also might want to put a rag underneath to catch the oil that's going to run out like that. And then this side over here, make sure you got that bolt out or this won't come off. You just twist this one. Now this one's got some tension on it, so what I'm going to do is knock it off, and then I'll come back. So I got the bearing out. All I had to do was twist it really hard. And if you ever do have to knock on one to knock them out, knock on it right in the area right here. You can hit it right here with a Phillips screwdriver, and it'll come out. Now that the cam is dropped down, I see I'll have all this play here. All I have to do is rotate the chain over one tooth. So you just grab it. I'm just going to get my hands in the way a little bit more. And then rotate it over one tooth. And then to check it, all you have to do is lift up on the camshaft when you got the timing set correct. We're on the T, top dead center, and this line needs to be lined up parallel. Look, it still has white lithium grease on it from when whoever rebuilt it. That's kind of cool. Has a little bearing wear, but that's, I don't know, I'm not worried about it. Alright, so it's got a little piece of gasket stuck on there too. I don't know. I'm going to try just putting it back together as is. With some silicone seal. He had silicone seal on it too, on the gasket on this side, which is good. I like that. That's what I would put on there. So I already checked the cam timing. I lifted up on it, overcame the tensioner at the bottom, and now it's set correct. I got a little key point for you. If you're working on your camshaft or doing any work on the ignition, this little pin right here can possibly fall out of the cam, and if it does, your ignition timing is not going to work right. It's definitely not going to be in the right place. So you make sure it's pushed back in when you do any work on this. On this side over here, don't forget your spring. This side's got a rubber plug in it. I was able to get the bearings back in with no problem, which means the chain wasn't as tight as I suspected, but you can see it is pretty tight. You can barely move it. So the bolts are in. When you put the advancer on, you got to rotate it around until it drops into that pin. And there's two notches on the back of the advancer. There's one on either side. It doesn't matter which side it goes to. They're both the same. I forgot to show you how I tighten these bolts here. It's a 6mm bolt with a 10mm head. I put a 10mm wrench on it, tighten it down, and then to make it tight, I take a heavier wrench, this is a 9/16, and just tap on it like this until it tightens. You don't want to over tighten it. It's just, all it does is hold that advancer on. You're going to have the same exact ignition timing. So you rotate that around and then tighten this bolt. These two bolts, the spring underneath, and these are all the same length bolts. Tighten all those up. And now, let's see. Let's look at the cam timing, and I'll tell you why it looks like it's off. So it should be parallel, but it's leaning slightly backwards. So my theory on this is, if somebody shaved the head, it's going to change the cam timing. It's not always going to be exact. But this here, that's pretty much right on. But this here is slightly leaning to the back. I'd rather have it slightly leaning to the back than slightly leaning to the front, which is what it was doing. It definitely was off one tooth. So now we're going to do a valve adjustment, and we do that by split overlap, which means you're going to adjust two valves at the same time. So you rotate the wrench on the crankshaft, I use a 17, until two of the valves are open. So it looks like it's going to be the right side exhaust and the left side intake. So you rotate them so they're slightly like that. So they're both open, and these two are both closed. So then all you have to do with these is adjust these two by rotating where this hole is. And if you put your engine back together and you can't see the holes, it means that you've swapped the exhaust shafts for the intake shafts, and it makes it really difficult to adjust the valve. So anyway, you rotate these over with a feeler blade in between, and then you get it to where you want it, and you tighten this down. Tighten down the lock bolt. Alright, so what you do is, I'm using a 4/1000 feeler blade, and rotate this backwards, and rotate it in until it's got a slight drag on the feeler blade, and then you tighten down the bolt. Alright, I'll leave it in and then pull on it again and see how it is. That's nice. I like that. Alright, and you go to the other one, and the same thing. 4/1000. 4/1000 all the way around. You can use 5/1000. Sometimes I use 5/1000 on customer motors. And if you ever get in a situation where you can't get this to stop, check. You gotta wonder how thick was the gasket that you put in underneath the cam box. I had one a couple years ago that was, instead of being 15/1000, it was 30/1000 thick, and I couldn't get the valves to adjust, so I had to take apart the engine again and change that gasket. There's probably a torque setting on these, but I just do them till they're tight. Alright, that feels good. So if your top end is dry when you put it back together, put some lube in here, and in here, and then in here, or along in here, or extras there. You don't need a ton. But you got to know when you start your engine, it's not lubricating the top end. You should put grease on this stuff before you put it back together. Anyway, put some oil on it. Whatever oil you're running in your engine, put that on it. Alright, you can put some on the cam too. Not going to hurt anything. Then you're going to put your cam box lid back on. That's this one here. Unless you got a coupe, it looks a little bit different. And you notice on some of the sedans, see a weld right there? Some of them are welded, some of them aren't welded. And sometimes these breather baffle plates fall off. Terrible rattling sound in your engine. It's this baffle banging around on the top of your camshaft. So just take it apart and get that thing welded on, or get another cam box lid. Alright, so that goes on there. And these are only 6mm, so don't crank them down too tight. Just crank them down till they stop, and don't go any more because they'll break right off, and then you have to drill and easy out those out again. It's a real pain.